Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Fricke. Been a resident of Austin since 1981, and very fortunate to have a spare bedroom that to build the layout. And so the question is how did Mark get to meet me? And he came down to several of our annual open houses here in Austin, if you will. And a pleasure meeting Mark a couple of years ago, and then we had him more recently here. And he emailed me, would I like to give a presentation? And I said, sure. So all the hard work of the photographs, countless working on the presentation. Mark has been the enormous help. And then George Zapalak, also a member here in Austin. He helped me with some of the photography. So the cover layout kind of gives it away. I love Colorado. Obviously, it's a fall scene. So that's what we're going to, what I'm going to share with you. So we'll go to the next one, Mark. That is a picture that Mark had taken and elected to put it in black and white. And I thought it was an interesting photography, so I did a little fun with it. And you can see I call it Creed, Colorado. But it gives the inspiration. I love hard rock mining, and this black and white photo looks something like the real thing. So layout basics, it pretty much is in a spare bedroom, as you can see. Joining closet is used for staging. Layout height, it suits me, a little over 6 feet. The mine complex, which you'll see shortly, is via switchback. We get up to 61 inches. The layout is supported by metal brackets, and we'll have photos of that. So when you walk in, not a lot of leg room. Your feet won't hit a support structure. And then the peninsula where all the mines are located, I have a bookcase underneath, comes in handy, supports it, plus you get to store all your relative books. Everything is a 2-foot wide shelf, modified L girder. Bookcase is 4 feet wide. You can see this, and the aisles are 2 feet. And then I have a lift out entry. So moving on to the track plan, you can see it's a basic oval with the closet shown to the left, 2-stage holding track. It's level going around the layout, and then the switchback to your right will take you to the upper camp of Creed, and then on the left, that's where the mill complex is located. So we go, this is what it looks like when you enter the room. You'll notice a lift out bridge, and I tried to detail it so it became part of the scenery, and it comes out relatively easy. It allows me to work there without having to crawl around anymore. And if we go to the next photo, there was some interest expressed about how I got the bridge in there and held it in place. And very simply done. There's kind of in the bottom half, you'll see a block, and the bottom hole there is where you'll slide I just call it a carriage bolt over, but I put it at an angle so that as you enter the room, it's wider. As you get in, it's narrower. So what I call a skew. So as I push the rod in, it centers the bridge and tightens it all at the same time. Very easy to do. And the next slide just shows, what it looks like from underneath, how it rests. And it works for me. It's one where you don't take it out all the time, but once it's in, it's perfectly aligned and works just fine. So I mentioned angle brackets. This is how I install them. It's just a neat way of hanging it in a bedroom and adhering to a plaster wall. Of course, you find a 2x4 stud behind it, but it gives a lot of room in the layout. You're able to walk around, and it just makes everything look a little larger. So next picture shows the bookcase and just what it looks like. I'm allowed one fan in the room, but pretty much I keep everything off the floor, so you get a kind of good view of the underside of the layout. And design parameters, the pretty simple plan. I'm in ON30. I run Bachmann equipment, so I set my minimum radius at 30 inches. I hand laid the track. I thoroughly enjoy it. I think the fast track turnout jigs makes hand laying track a very easy task. Choke cables I chose to use with Blue Point switch machines, very effective, very low in cost. And I have 2-track staging in the closet, and that's the only tortoise machine I own in there is to switch that. The artist painted background mentioned here, found an artist through the local hobby shop, and that, in my opinion, she brought the whole thing to life. Not only is it mounted on masonite, it continues on the wall. And the whole idea is the sense of everything going vertical or continuous. So to simplify things, the Mainline has 0 grade, switchback 2.5, and Tom Pearson, he now resides in Fort Worth. He was the gentleman that helped me get everything wired up. So now we're entering the layout, and it's kind of like a bird's eye view. You're seeing the Western scale model, 10 stamp mill. What a kit. I bought that kit before I started working on the layout, well over 15 years ago. So that was kind of like in masonry, the cornerstone, the one that held up the arch. Everything is predicated around that kit. And you can see the backdrop scenery painted. The outline there is the 2-foot high masonite, and then we continued the painting to the ceiling. And why I chose to have the backdrop not attached to the wall is I have some 1x2 trim pieces, and on the next slide you will see the very cheap set of Christmas tree lights, LEDs, bought after Christmas. So they go around the entire room. So that's my moonlight, and it's indirect lighting. You can obviously see some dust is accumulated. I like to consider it to have a little bit of muting on it. But so that's how I do the night scene. Most folks seem to enjoy it. Very simple to do and install. So again, as we go to the next slide, where we have continued around from the stamp mill. It's a U-shaped walk-in area. And to your left, you can see the switchback, and to your right is the town of Creed. And I have some more aspen trees there in the back to confirm it is indeed September. And this is the last aerial view. We're standing in that corner from the prior slide just to show you the overall layout and how the scenery blends in. And one more view on the slide of the overall height of it's actually a view drop in the tallest mountain. So everything I was trying to do was to get you to look upwards, and then you'll see an aerial tramway there that also helps to shift your eyes vertical. So now we're walking in the layout, and the first thing you see on the right is the track that circles the bedroom. Simple bridge structure, you know, gets, and below it is the track to the mining area. And then on my layout, I have two replicas of what it's like inside a mine. And these are all what they call 5x5 timbers. They were mostly 12 inches. Some were a little larger. And in my research, all ends were mitered 45 degrees so that they could be stacked anyway. This is how the mines were timbered if they needed to prevent cave-ins. So anytime there was mining activity, there weren't any trees above. Virtually all the timbers went to the inside. So this is my version. It's a lot of fun to build, and most folks that come over, they really enjoy that. It gives a feeling of what it must have been like to be inside a mine. So this mine is below the tallest, my biggest mine, operating mine, if you will. So immediately above that is the aerial tramway. It's a Banta kit. It gives you everything you need to include about the towers. So it adds a little more perspective and depth to the scene. And a lot of folks enjoy, they don't catch it right away when they come in, but when they see it, they like to spend some time on it. So we're still walking in, and then on the left, this is another Banta kit with horse and buggy is my means of conveying ore. I'm 1895. So we don't have any automobiles, and all of the structures have detailed interiors. And so this is my rendition of what it must have been like hauling ore, you know, via horses and a wagon. And it gives a viewer a view of a mine when immediately entered the layout. So the opening photograph had another view of this, and in this one, it shows the stream below, a little more detailing of the scenery, the aspen trees, and all what goes with it. So thoroughly enjoy the color of the aspen trees, and I found these at Discount Hobby in Dallas, and that I knew immediately. I picked them up. I believe they're made in Mexico, and the detail is incredible. So that determined I'm now September in 1895. So the next slide is going to show Berkshire Valley kit again with the horses. In this particular scene, we're hauling supplies to the mines. That is sitting on top of the dirt road. As we all know, the railroad's built around it. So that's, Berkshire makes a fantastic kit, and you get to build horses as well. So pretty keen. Picture here is just showing the passenger terminal. Then I show I have telegraphs. I show it terminating in there like they would have on a real railroad. So the source of energy on this layout or heating is coal. So I have a lot of coal bunkers everywhere. And one thing I have left to do is to do a little more detailing on the roofs, but kind of get the flavor of a Rio Grande style railroad. So going to the next slide, this is the little closer view up of that Western scale model and my version of what a mining community, particularly the reduction mill, would look like. And so in the space I had available, you can see a lot of cribbing, and bridges and structure. Just wanted something to break up all, how would they have gotten the ore to the mine and let gravity take it down? And so when we go to the next photograph, we now have the roofs off, and you can see the interior that you get with the kit. And then to your right is where the ore is coming from. But, what a kit. I think I spent $400 on it 15 years ago and sat in the closet forever. But that is the anchor, and that's why the railroad looks like it is to be able to display that. And the next photograph just shows you what a prosperous industry this is. I model gold mining. It's 1895. It's just after the Silver Repeal Act of 1893. So most of my structures are in good shape. And in this scene here, you can see all the goodies unloaded from the boxcar. They're running out of room. And at the end of the day, the sacks of gold ore will be placed over the trucks, doors closed, and somebody with a shotgun will be sitting on the roof, and the train will come get them and take it off to Pueblo or Denver for further reduction. And then another scene again, just showing the detail that you can, if you choose, that you can do on this, and it's O scale, so it's a lot of fun. And then every mill has to have an office, and you can see the what you can do detailing them. Thoroughly enjoy doing that. And when you switch from HO to O, which I did, I think everybody has done that. It is an immediate shock to your system, the amount of space they take up. So I had to be very careful when I was laying everything out and measuring what some of these structures would look like. So continuing on down, I had to have a town, a colorful town, and I wanted full replicas of the building. They're all detailed, all lighted. So the track is behind the structures rather than having storefronts on the background. I chose to have the full structures up front, and they all being fully detailed. People really enjoy peeking in there and see what's going on. But well, that's my version of a prosperous town. It hasn't gone down yet. Then the next slide is a Banta kit. I think it's one of the larger kits, and so that anchors a spot where you can see both sides of it. It's a very colorful kit. Has full details on it, and it more or less sets the scene. We're prosperous. We have people. Buildings aren't run down. And then the next photograph Mark took, and there's not a lot of room in a 2-foot aisle, of the gentleman bringing the bags in to the structure. And of course, I have it's all full of chairs, food, people. Folks really enjoy looking at it. So my version of a yard had to be rather brief because I chose to have full-scale buildings. But the close-up there of that Rio Grande Southern snow plow is a Wiseman kit. And if you're not aware of it, I highly recommend it. It is probably one of the most detailed, very accurate kit. And if you enjoy that aspect of the hobby, and it makes a great centerpiece when people walk in. And since this is September, the gentleman responsible for it, while he's standing there, he's getting it ready for the upcoming snow. So you can do some highly detailed models of select equipment, and then behind it is my workup train where I have you know, riprap rocks, ties, and so forth and so on. And there's a shay on it, and it's about ready to go out of town. And the normal water tank and the pump house is behind it. And then, as we chose this picture here just to show close up, you can see inside the gentleman with a tie on, and he's serving customers, and just the overall detail. And as we move on, just some more detail of the folks getting ready to go out and work on the track. Again, the roofs need a little more work, but save that for last. And then as we continue around the layout, there's another Banta kit. That's their engine kit. And it shows evidence of a yard or holdover area for junk. And then there's a cemetery to the right of it. And unfortunately, it's starting to grow in population. The next side shows the inside of the engine house. And again, that's a Western scale model machine shop interior. So you get all the goodies, you just have to figure out where you're going to put it. And this is how I put it in my engine house. And it, all the parts that you get with it, none of it rotates, but everybody seems to enjoy looking at what all the normal tools would have been in a, you know, in an engine house and a machine shop. So now the same passenger train that you saw on the bridge is rounded, gone through the yard. And the reason I chose this photograph is it's because I have horses and mules and so forth. So they have to have a feed store. So that was what I was trying to do here in this diorama. So we got horses there getting hay. The guys worked up a sweat unloading things. And then as we go to the next slide, there's my rendition of a cemetery. We have some freshly dug ones, unfortunately, and it's slowly filling up. So just try to give a little bit of humor to it. Then the next slide, we're on a simple A-frame bridge. This time we've got a little ore train being pulled, but this shows the upper track on the switchback. And you got a gentleman up there working on the track. On the back side of that tunnel, there's mirrors. I have 4 mirrors on tracks that terminate, and that, you know, as we all know, gives the illusion of depth. And it's amazing how many people want to know how far does it go. You know, when you tell them it's a mirror, they kind of look at you funny. But just show you the aspen trees again. This is on this climax is working its way back after dropping off the ore cars on the main line, and just shows the overall and how the scenery ties in. And here's a pretty good view in this slide we're at now, showing Crete, Colorado. I thoroughly enjoy building retaining walls. To get vertical space like in the real world, a 90-degree, you had to retain it. So this is how I camouflaged it. And so I have a lot of retaining walls here. And if you've ever been to Crete, Colorado, or to Leadville, or any of the pictures, you'll just see that, you know, wood was just used everywhere. So the kit in front of you, most of you will recognize, that's Banta's replica of the rattlesnake mine that made the Gazette years ago that was scratch built in O scale. And I was about to do the same thing. And when I was in Caboose Hobby, I saw this kit. So I took the easy way out. It's a super kit. It just adds a lot of detail and fun to build. The next one is just a vertical shaft mine. I wanted everything to go straight up, and you know, it is another source of revenue for the railroad, and you can see the mountains behind it. These are all Bragdon molds that Chuck Ellis loaned me, a local modeler here, with plaster. Didn't choose to do it with the chemicals, and the details on them are just incredible. Then the next slide, it just shows a little more detail, water tank, various structures there, a little porter that is delivering coal, and behind there's 4 ore cars ready to be removed as well. Then the slide showing the retaining wall, Mark did an excellent job taking that photograph. To me, that's the epitome of what a retaining wall should look like, and how an ore is conveyed to cars. It thoroughly enjoyed doing all that, but you know, the picture is worth 1,000 words. So to camouflage the track that feeds this ore mine, it doesn't go anywhere, because to the immediate right of that rock pile is an aisleway. So I simulated a rock slide that would come down, and so we have the various workers there trying to remove it, and it's a sedimentary rock mold there, so it camouflages it. I can get away with the track just sitting out there in the middle. And here's an end view of Creed. It's what you would see standing in the aisleway there, and then I love building these mine dioramas. This is underneath that rattlesnake mine. Again, it shows the cribbing, you know, and I modeled it a little differently. Below it is another tunnel, where they drain water, but most folks, and Mark had to do some again, it's a 2-foot area for his camera, so taking this kind of a picture was certainly an art, but most folks seem to enjoy it. And then I was asked to maybe talk a little bit about how that night scene would look from indirect lighting. So we took some photographs of it, and you know, with the structures lit up, kind of reminds you, if you've ever been in Breckenridge during the holidays, you know, when all their lights are on. And of course, the next photograph is the town lit up. So it does an effective job, and this preceded all the advancements in LED lighting, where you can change the colors, so forth and so on. So what I've tried to do in a 12 by 13 bedroom is what you can do in ON30. And if you enjoy scenery, what you can do, and you can build detail kits and have a reasonable representation, and also have something that, as we all age, it's easier to build and easier to see. So that's my version of what a railroad should have looked like in Colorado.
A few questions and comments came up in the chat. I thought it was a great presentation. It's nicely structured the way you led us through it, and the photographs were lovely. So I think Mark helped, you marked up the photos, so I think it looked great. Bill Hobbs said, yeah, the amount of space O-scale buildings take up, even compared to S-scale, always surprises me, and I agree on that. Mike McKenzie said, really appreciate the challenge of a larger scale in a small space. Very nicely done in that small space. And Bill Hobbs said again, with those horses, you need to model some scale road apples. We all know what those are. And Burr Stewart said, did you convert your Bachmann cars to ON3 couplers?
No, I left the Katie number 5s that they came with. My rolling stock is all Bachmann. Now I have San Juan pre-made and kits that I have built. Their display, because of the narrow confines that I have, the Bachmann cars, you know, they run far better. So I chose not to do that. If I were to do it over and had a little more room, I would, but so I left them, and they seem to handle the 30-degree curvature fine, because I don't run large locomotives from Bachmann. And as we all know, their passenger cars are more S-scale. And when I was putting people in them, I had to amputate arms, legs, and feet just to get them in the seats. Same thing in the locomotive. So it, 30 inches in HO is pretty generous. So it, and then the 2.5 grade limits what you can take up and down. So it chose to keep the number 5 Katie's on the rolling stock. Now the static display, yes, I have the scale couplers.
Okay, thank you. Mike McCarville said, and I was thinking the same thing. He says the rock slide idea to end trackage. That's a great idea. I think that's a pretty cool way to stop the trackage at the end of the when it came towards the aisle. And Owen Thorne said, excellent tour, photos and models. Thank you for taking the time to share. And I would reiterate that. That's great. Great job. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been an honor to be part of the group. I've looked at all the previous layouts, so it's I've seen them all in magazines, but I've never had the privilege of seeing them. So I'm very fortunate to be part of it.
No, very nice. Thank you.